How's it going, guys? My name is Falling Hurts, and if you're like me, you like those horror games and, all things like that. And when I was watching the Xbox showcase today, as much as I loved most of the games there, Starfield especially, one game that really stuck out to me as something that was a little different and definitely something I was super excited for was Still Wakes the Deep. And if you're not exactly sure what this game is or who's made it, I'm going to break down everything there is to know about the game, even though there's not really a lot at this time. This is definitely one I'll be keeping an eye out on, and if there's any more gameplay or something in the future that's substantial, I'll probably do another video, so consider subscribing for videos like this, all games, big or small, that I'm excited for, and they tend to have a certain audience. But Still Wakes the Deep is actually being developed by the Chinese Room, a developer that you may have heard of before. Maybe that's just me, maybe that's just whatever. You may have heard of Dear Esther. I've heard of that one, whatever. One you may have heard of is Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Of course, that's a phenomenal game that I think everybody should probably check out. That's probably their #1 title. And then as far as horror goes, especially, leaning full-blown into horror, which I think this trailer almost tends to go towards. Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, the second game from the Amnesia series, a kind of spin-off not developed entirely by Frictional Games. So with that catalog in mind, this game is being published by Secret Mode. And one thing I really like to do with publishers, like, Secret Mode, for instance, is check out what their pricing of games usually is. And unfortunately, with a wide variety of different scopes and scales for these games, I can't really pin down exactly what the price point for a game like this would be. But visually, it looks fairly expensive. Now, of course, it's going to come down to game length and different things that we don't really know like that to determine exactly what the price of this game is. But a lot of their, higher price points hit around the $20 range. Now, assuming this is something that's perhaps next gen only or something in the lines of like that, maybe you could see somewhere in the $30 to $40 price range. I definitely wouldn't expect a full price title here. Now, as for when you're going to be playing the game, as of right now, we also don't know that. However, the trailer mentions early 2024. Early, I would ideally consider that being, the spring, maybe winter even, but I could see it going into early summer, maybe even in the times like now. When where you're going to be able to play this game, you can play it on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Sorry, Switch, but with PC and Xbox, you can, of course, play the game day one on Game Pass, which is a huge get always and forever. And now that we've covered everything for your need-to-knows, let's actually look at what the game is. The store page for the game reads as this. Still Wakes the Deep is a return to the first-person narrative horror genre from the Chinese Room. You are an offshore oil rig worker, fighting for his life through a vicious storm, perilous surroundings, and the dark, freezing North Sea waters. All lines of communication have been severed, all exits are gone. All that remains is to face the unknowable horror that's come aboard. Now, as for what that actually is, I am so excited to see what that is. One game I'm playing right now where you're very limited in your setting and, your resources is actually Amnesia the Bunker, which, interestingly enough, Frictional Games, Amnesia, they kind of collaborated before. And while this is definitely leaning more towards the narrative horror, I'm really interested to see just how they handle the tight, confined settings in this as opposed to Amnesia. Now, you're going to need to search for your crew and help them survive if you can. You'll run, climb, and swim through the flooding corridors and the storm-lashed outer decks. You're going to face a terrifying, unrelenting foe, note that it's foe and not foes, and pray that one day you will get to see your family again. Another big talking point they say is that for the Chinese Room, they have a reputation of world-class world building, audio, writing, and acting. And that's going to be delivering a symphony of action, trepidation, tender emotions, and awe. And right now, I'm going to say that while I'll be doing a trailer breakdown at the end of the video, the visuals, the animation specifically looks so good. And while we didn't really get a lot of voice acting throughout this, I can imagine that the voice performances are stellar. But you're going to have to live the horror. An immersive disaster story aboard a stunningly realized North Sea oil rig, starring an authentic cast of Scottish actors. Experience the beauty and ferocity of the sea as it rips apart one of humanity's strongest structures and its steadfast crew. And your goal, of course, will be to escape the rig. No weapons, no powers, just your wits and determination. Struggle for survival on an unstable oil rig. where one wrong step could be your last. And of course, you see as the character shimmies along the edges, and there's falling off of the edge of the helipad, all of these different things. It's really, really interesting to see just how dangerous this location could be. And of course, in doing all this, you're going to have to face your fears. Something has turned your home into a nightmare, where the familiar becomes threatening and where a noise in the dark fills you with dread. Resist the urge to turn back and confront the unknown. And my favorite thing about this, and I truly mean this, is that as we're talking about this and we're getting little glimpses and hints as to what may be going on here, clearly they're not showing us the full picture. I guess with the sea, one thing I'm really worried about is that it's always going to be Cthulhu. And it may not seem to be the case here. I mean, I would love just a straight up sea monster of some kind. Obviously, one small enough to fit within the confines of the ship. But one thing I'm really interested in is just what exactly is going on here. I don't want something that's just some mental trip the whole time, although that would still be interesting, of course, if it was hallucination. But that is absolutely everything we officially know about the game. Now, what I wanted to do from here on out is actually break down everything that we're seeing within the trailer. So starting from the beginning, we of course get, some water hitting over the waves, you get the title screens, different things like that. And then that's when it's revealed, of course, that it's not Silent Hill like I'm sure somebody probably thought because of the fog or whatever. But in reality, it is an oil rig, which, of course, the setting is a huge prominent part of the marketing and my hype for this game. And then, of course, we get some quick shots of a couple different environments. We see the character, as I already mentioned, shimmying along this little edge line. They knock over a can, which reacts, with physics quite well. And then you've got the amazing animation and sound as he pulls down the lever. Really reminds you of Jurassic Park, if you know what I'm talking about. But then as the music or the voice in the background of the trailer kind of, crescendos, we see a lot more action shots as the character is doing the monkey bars across there or climbing the ladder. And then it picks up tempo. The character is sprinting. He's running, jumping. And then at the very end, we see that something has thrown open a door at the end of the hallway that we're closing the seal on. And that's when, of course, we get the great little moment of, how do I want to say this, a nice blood-chilling, bone-curdling scream. I don't know, it's a nice monster sound, I have to assume. And man, I am just so excited for whatever this game is. I love the setting. I love the limitless potential. I love that this told me absolutely nothing with keeping me fully invested. And I really hope this is a return to form of an Amnesia-style game. Though we didn't see any interaction like that from the world with the player, I would love for that to be almost the case. But with that being said, that's everything that we know about Still Wakes the Deep. If this interested you, or if this video was at all helpful, then consider subscribing. As with Summer Games Fest and all of these different events, we've got plenty of videos like this coming out here and there. I also do a movie podcast where we are currently talking about Indiana Jones. And on top of that, I of course do the reviews, as I already mentioned. So consider subscribing. We've got all those coming, and it's really exciting. So yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.